Hey, you know what I learned? I learned through my fumbles. I've learned that through some of my overreactions, I've allowed people to stay in my circle longer than they should have. And it's opened up abusive interactions. You take that however you want. On one hand, I want to say not abusive in the way that you're thinking, because I don't put up and tolerate, but because of certain labels with certain individuals, which is not about outing them, it has led to some bad interactions that I've received up on my part, out of trying to maintain respect for that title, that label that that person may have had. And like I said, it's allowed people to be in my circle longer than it should have. It's allowed those situations or those people to have a leg to stand on. And that's not what you want to do. That's the topic of this video. Everything that I've said for this past 1 minute, 17 seconds, I'm going to try to squeeze into the topic for this video. My name's Ayin Kilimanjaro, that is. When I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about it's two particular people. And then this third one, I'm going to have on the back burner. Excuse me. But it's two particular people at early points in my life that I'll just say something happened. And this is where what I said overreacting on my part came into play. I overreacted, and I cut these individuals off. Later, to come back, pick them up, whether it was just me kind of having just a second thought on thinking about it, or what have you, on what had occurred, and at a particular point that I was in my life, and I'm just like, hey, look, I'm growing. I know other people are growing. That wasn't as bad as what I thought that it was. I put the blame on me. I overreacted because I'm always quick to cut people off. Let me go ahead and open this back up. Now keep in mind, I'm not talking about relationships. Like I said, I don't put up with that foolishness. These are friendships for the first two. Third one, something else altogether. Both of these individuals, excuse me, allowed back in my life, we were dipping and diving again, right? Things cropped up, some uneasiness, some things where I saw this is kind of similar to those situations on why I cut you out of my life in the first place. But I ain't trying to be that overreactor. I'm not trying to be this person that's quick to, snuff you out of my life. Let's go on up with this because we're friends. I've known you this long. So you take that stuff, you put it aside, you call yourself overlooking because we're all imperfect, right? Nobody overlooking things up with me, all imperfect. Now, whether they're things worth cutting me off for, hey, that's up to their discretion. I'm just giving my point of view. As things went on, it seemed like things were starting to sour. It was starting to seem like maybe we shouldn't have been friends. But then I can't say that because I've always considered myself learning from any and everybody that's up around me. So I said, can't really say that because I learned a lot from these individuals. But now I'm starting to question, did I really overreact in that situation? Because here it is, years later, countless other times I done overlooked these same things that had reached the point to that first initial confrontation. And, I've, tried to handle it with some maturity and put it on up to the wayside. But it's like, I'm thinking, this relationship really seems sour now. This is who you are. I'm not saying that you hadn't grown. Excuse me. But what's here between me and you, I don't know if it's enviness going on. I don't know what it is, but it has really soured and it's left a bad taste in my mouth to where now I don't feel like I'm on the upside of things up with you. And this is not just one instance. I'm looking back because this record is getting longer and longer with this history with us. And it reeks. See, I no longer have these few years or these first 3 or 4 or 5 years of these good years to go up on. Now I'm looking at a longer span of, man, I don't know on how much I'm getting up out of this relationship. It's beneficial up for me because I'm starting to feel like this relationship has evolved into beforehand where I could feel like I could tell you anything. I got to keep from telling you certain things that are positive for. I'm gonna say, well, never mind on what I was gonna say. I gotta quit telling you certain things because now I'm gonna have to get on this back foot and deal with these flippant comments that you state. I'm gonna have to try to go up this hill of discouragement from some of the things that you may say. I'm gonna have to try to diffuse. I'm gonna have to try to continually overlook these negatives, but these are positives, and there's nothing really bad that you could take away from it. It's just almost like you're being mean. See where I'm going? So I had to really flesh this out with you to let you know. I think that it's sour. It's sour like some grapes, but it's not in the fine wine like you're thinking. It's sour like some seafood. What I've seen when I look back over that, which with the 2 individuals that I'm talking about, and this third that's on the back burner that I'm still not referencing yet, and this is what I'm really talking in regards to with abusiveness, not abusiveness from these friendships, because again, I'm taking it just like how I would, like I said, with a relationship. I ain't gonna tolerate that about from a relationship, so I'm not talking about it being on like that level. So when I just went ahead and gracefully bowed out of these situations, I'm just like, were you really overreacting? Not that I was second guessing myself now. I'm talking about from that first instance. I'm like, I had it right the first go around. Not to say, excuse me, not to say that there still wasn't some lessons and things to be learned throughout all that time that it went on, but those lessons had gotten further and further and further and further in between to where it was just like, yeah, this is not cutting it. This is not cutting it. It seems like I'm diffusing more things than we're having good conversations about. Or we're only having good conversations about it's all you. And all up on some foolishness that I don't feel like talking up about. See, this is how, and this is how, what I'm going to say was this is how all relationships could take that turn to where they're like one-sided. And that can be exhausting. And you especially find that out the older that you get. I don't have time for that foolishness. And it starts to be less about how you're viewing things. It's just like, look, we can't see eye to eye. And keep in mind, on both of these instances that I'm talking about with these people, we've had discussions just like what I'm talking to you about in front of this camera. So it's not like you were cut off without reason. Unlike on those first instances where I did it and left the person standing like, what happened? I got an idea of what ticked them off, but really, what? We're not friends no more? That's what I meant about the overreacting up on my part. It was just like, quality I don't like. But look, I see to a degree, young Ayin did have it right. Found out young Ayin was right in a lot of things. I was ahead of my time. But just like I'm talking to you and sharing this with you in this video, I found when I tried to have these discussions up with the people, and I really didn't have any answer. And they continued on. So what I'm saying is about me having this discussion, this open discussion with them, that was the maturity. That was the mature part that was coming back, opposed to just like cutting off. Like, hey, look, I'm starting to notice, when you're doing this and that and the other, when I'm bringing something, this is just like what I'm saying in this video. I'm not going to cover all this again on what those conversations would look like. Just know that they look like what I'm saying in this video. Of course, I'm blowing it up a little bit bigger because I'm giving you a whole history up on it. So, doubt I went that in depth, but I let them know up on this situation like, hey, look, you really starting to sound like a sourpuss off of nothing. What is this about? I didn't get an answer. Till it went on again, I was like, I don't have time for this. That's what I'm talking about. Allowing stuff to remain up off in your circle, there's no benefit to you. Think about it. In your home, if there were things that broke down, were of no use to you, and you just stashed it in the corner, which a lot of people do with the attic or basement or what have you, there comes a time, even when you're stashing it away, that you go, okay, it's time to get rid of this. It's time to donate it, or if it's of no use to anybody, put it in the trash. But the point is, it's got to get out of here. Because I'm trying to make room for new stuff. Well, first and foremost, maintain the things that I got in here. I don't have time for it. Or I don't have room for it. Yeah, I don't have time for it. I mixed up my analogy. Because I'm thinking how I don't have time for it. But in the example of this, you got what I'm using. The example that I'm using, you got what I'm saying, that I don't have room for this junk, so it has to get up out of here. I'm not trying to give a leg to stand on with this. I'm not trying to hoard. I'll end the video off with this. When you're talking about with people, can't hoard people anyway. You only got so much time to effectively deal with who you deal with. Everybody doesn't get the same piece of the pie. Think about it. Your spouse, aside from, your kids, we're talking about humanly in nature, your kids and what have you, your spouse would be like the closest thing to you. Right? For that, be your parents, maybe some siblings, but as things step up with importance in your house, and I'm quite sure that even when you get married or you get in this relationship and you have kids, both of you can agree that, hey man, we trying to protect these cubs. This is it. That's up off in here. You could not give that same type of attention to friends and your outer circles and your cousins that you had when you were little, and your friends that you played basketball with, or video game, or whatever it was that you were doing. You couldn't possibly give the type of attention that you give to a spouse or your children. You couldn't. You could. You can. No, I take that back. I'm lying. You can. Find yourself divorced. Yeah, you absolutely can. My point is, you can't do it with everybody that you think that you're going to do it with, and everything is just going to be rocking and rolling. Just greased up and lubed and going on its way. Nah, it ain't going to do. You're going to have some, because if you're doing it with everybody, you have some unruly kids that grew up with a parent that wasn't there because you were too busy treating your friends and the outside circle like they were the people up off in your household. You got the point on what I'm saying. I'm fixing to end this video. Stay encouraged. Avoid being discouraged. I'm Ayn. You have a good one.